Welcome to Pick a Card, Any Card.
Where we pick a card.
Any card.
And hate draft it, so that guy trying to force mono red can't play it.
I'm Andrew.
And I'm Devin.
Today's cards are Quillspike.
And King Macar, the Gold Cursed.
Quillspike is a 1/1 for 3 mana, 2 generic, and a hybrid black-green. Hybrid mana is 2 colors, and anything that has hybrid mana in its mana cost is both of those colors, no matter which color you use to pay it. And you can use either one or the other. It's relatively straightforward. The only tricky part is if you use nothing but green mana to pay for something like Quillspike, Quillspike is still black-green.
Yeah, always. It's essentially a multicolored creature. The only difference is what you have to pay for it.
Right.
Pay for its ability.
It gives you a little bit more flexibility in how you pay for it.
It's not a strictly Eventide or Shadowmoor thing.
No, not at all. It is a 1/1 beast with the ability to pay a hybrid green or black, remove a -1/-1 counter from a creature you control to give Quillspike +3/+3 until end of turn. The art is by Carl Critchlow, and it depicts this
ugly motherfucker.
It's like a cross between a porcupine and a possum with this like long snake-like tongue and these huge sharp teeth and glowing eyes that freak me out.
Have you
really.
seen Vault Scourge?
Yeah,
like its head looks exactly like that.
Its head does look.
If you took a possum and then just covered it in spikes and gave it a Vault Scourge head, that is exactly what this card looks like.
I can see it. Yeah, I can see that. The flavor text reads, while it's true that a Quillspike does heal the sick, it's just because it finds them tastier that way. And I think
it's a little dark, but...
It is a little dark, but it's Eventide, which was part of the Lorwyn block.
That is true.
The ability does a pretty good job of mimicking this flavor, except for the fact that it's remove a -1/-1 counter from a creature you control. I think if the ability was to remove a -1/-1 counter from target creature, it would fit the flavor a little better.
It would be.
Because this creature's not going to be eating the creatures you control.
Yeah.
It's going to be eating the creatures your opponents control. So it would make more sense for the flavor if it could remove a -1/-1 counter from a creature your opponent controlled, and then got bigger, and then able to kill that creature.
Yeah.
But... that would be broken.
I don't think it'd be broken, but it'd be really good.
It'd be spectacular.
Like, yeah, it would... Actually, no, it not really, because it makes your opponent's creatures with -1/-1 counters on them better, because it gets rid of the -1/-1 counter.
Except you can declare it as a blocker, pull a -1/-1 counter off of what was blocked, and then that thing just gets eaten.
Yeah. Wait, what was... You declare Quillspike as a blocker.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the thing gets +1/+1, and Quillspike gets +2/+2.
No, it gets +3/+3.
Yeah, or essentially +2/+2, because the thing got +1/+1 from removing the -1/-1 counter on it.
I still think it would be good. You're still a net problem. It's 1 mana!
Yeah, I know, it is good, but it's not quite that good. Like, it wouldn't really, like, destroy decks. Like, It would be fantastic if you were playing a deck with Wither or Infect. That is true. Yeah, it would make those decks a lot better, because it's like, that thing's essentially...
Quillspike would be a staple in those decks.
Yeah, it would make that worthless 1/1 you have, because it used to be a good 5/5 that you blocked with good Wither or something like that, into a almost worthless 2/2, because it's like turn 9.
Which then gets devoured by the Quillspike that just blocked it. So I think overall this card is... pretty flavorful.
Yeah, I like it. I actually never heard of this card until you told me about it earlier.
I discovered this card by accident. I was just sort of looking around, trying to find some interesting cards that I wanted to build a deck with, because I was challenging myself to build a deck that was less than $30.
Okay.
A coworker of mine did this recently. He built a deck that was $9.
Oh, wow.
He just recently upgraded it to about $20 or $30.
Okay, I actually built the deck I'm going to bring up in my next segment on King Macar. Mm-hmm. That was a budget EDH deck, and I built the whole deck for less than $50.
So yeah, so you can get quite a bit out of budget, and I think this is a great budget card. It's an uncommon. You can pick it up for like $1.25. It's not expensive.
I bet you can get it for way less than that. Like, you can get a foil one for $1.25 probably.
It, in and of itself, it by itself is not going to do a lot of work. It really isn't. You got to have the support for it.
Yeah.
In supporting this card, you're going to need some cards that either come into play with -1/-1 counters or put -1/-1 counters on things that you control, just to keep fueling the Quillspike. So repeatable counters are going to be great. Things that come into play with counters are going to be good because they get bigger as Quillspike gets bigger. So Noxious Hatchling or Canker Abomination are going to be good. Noxious Hatchling and Canker Abomination are both 6/6s for 4 mana. Both of the Noxious Hatchling requires 3 generic and a hybrid blue and a hybrid black-green, and it comes into play with 4 -1/-1 counters on it. It has Wither, so it deals damage in the form of -1/-1 counters. So a creature dealt damage this way, it doesn't actually technically take damage, it just has -1/-1 counters placed on it. A 2/2 for 4 mana, not very good. But it has 2 triggered abilities on it. One of them is, whenever you cast a black spell, remove a -1/-1 counter from Noxious Hatchling. The other ability is the same, but for a green spell. So if you're casting spells that are both black and green, that's 2 counters right there.
That's both.
It gets bigger fairly quickly.
Well, at max it's a 6/6.
At max it's a 6/6, but that's still a 6/6.
Yeah, it's still a 6/6 for 4.
For Quillspike, it works nicely because you can drop this in for 4 mana, and then instead of casting spells to make it bigger, you can make it bigger with Quillspike. Swing in with a 2/2 and a 1/1, devour a bunch of -1/-1 counters off of it. Now you've got a 6/6 and...
A 13/13 and a 6/6 swinging at you is still a force to be reckoned with.
And that's 4 mana. You just did that. That's amazing. If you need something to drop in a little bit earlier. Chainbreaker is a 3/3 Scarecrow for 2 that comes into play with 2 -1/-1 counters on it.
Oh, he's better than I thought. I thought he was a 3/3 for 3.
It has... Yeah, he's actually pretty good.
Yeah, he's a 2/2, so... Or he's a 3/3.
He's a 3/3 for 2.
But he comes in for 2.
He comes in as a 1/1.
Yeah, he's a 2.
But you can pay 3 and tap him to remove a -1/-1 counter from target creature. You don't need this ability, though, because you have Quillspike. If you just had the Chainbreaker, it'd take 6 mana and 2 turns to get him to be a 3/3. With a Quillspike, it's 2 mana at your leisure. At instant speed, even.
Yeah, he good.
And if they kill your Quillspike, you can still pull -1/-1 counters off of things.
You know what my favorite part about Chainbreaker is?
What?
He's a Scarecrow.
He is a Scarecrow.
He's one of the very few Scarecrows, and it's actually a decent one. Yeah, the problem with Chainbreaker, though, is he comes in as a 1/1, so he's really easy to kill.
Yeah.
And it takes, 3 to remove 1 from him?
3 and tapping him.
Yeah, and if you
he comes in the turn before Quillspike.
Yeah, problem is with the turn before Quillspike, though, is Quillspike comes in for 3, and then you don't have the extra mana to remove a counter from him.
Right.
So he's stuck there for a turn.
He's still there. If you draw him late game, he's great. If you draw him early game, he's a chump blocker.
Yeah.
He's not a bad card to have in your hand, I don't think, at any point in the game.
Yeah, especially since he's 2 colorless.
Yeah.
And, this is a 2-color deck, so... you have 2 mana of any color, you don't care.
Mm-hmm. Another ability that plays really well with Quillspike is Persist.
Yes. Persist is really...
So...
Ironically, it's better than Undying, even though...
Yes.
Undying is technically better, but, everything that works with... Everything that, makes Persist good doesn't work with Undying.
Right.
So
there's a lot you can do with Persist, because...
I think it's really the existence of Melira. There is no card that says creatures can't have +1/+1 counters.
Right.
So there's no way to, infinitely cycle
and typically,
creatures
that have Undying don't have a second ability, don't have an enters the battlefield ability.
That is true.
A lot of the creatures that have Persist have an enters the battlefield ability.
That is true.
If you're running Quillspike and you want to stick with the black-green, Rendclaw Trow has Wither and Persist. Great for shrinking the size of your opponent's creatures, and just keeps on coming back. keeps on giving you a bigger Quillspike.
Yeah, and just doesn't die.
No.
And it is a troll, so that actually kind of fits in the flavor of a troll, because trolls don't ever die.
Yeah. Normally they have regenerate. This one just keeps coming back.
Yeah, this one comes back slightly less powerful.
And what's really great about Quillspike's ability is because you can activate it at instant speed, you can leave the -1/-1 counter on Rendclaw Trow until he's about to die.
Yeah, just like,
and then just
swing these guys. Like,
need to borrow this counter from you, and he comes back.
Block your 1/1 with my 1/1. Aha, my 1/1's now a 2/2. Surprise!
The thing about Quillspike is he's on the board. He's an interaction that you're not going to surprise your opponent with your combat tricks.
That is
you're just not, because your opponent sees he has mana untapped. He has creatures with -1/-1 counters. I know what he's doing. He's swinging in with a bunch of 1/1s, and they're just gonna get stupid big.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing though. Like, your opponent may get confused. You swing a 2/2 that has a -1/-1 counter, so it's a 1/1. So this guy and your Quill, it's technically a 1/1 and a 1/1. It's like, well, he'll do that thing where the 1/1 gets +3/+3. So that's a 3/3 and a 1/1, right? Like, no, it's a 3/3 and a 2/2.
Right.
Like, it gives a total of +4.
Yeah. It's so good. Because, yeah, you're right. It gives a total of +4 for 1 mana.
Yeah. So they'd be
what does that?
Block both of them. It's like, well, that's now a 2/2. It's like, oh yeah, I forgot that got bigger too. Crap. But persist is really, really good. I don't think there are any cards that give like all your creatures persist. Like there's like Macac, I believe, who gives all creatures undying. But I think there is one for persist beyond Cauldron of Souls, which is a 5-mana artifact that choose any number of creatures. They all gain persist until end of turn.
Which
so I guess
is useful. You don't want to give 1/1s persist.
Yeah. Well, you don't want to give a lot of your creatures persist because they'll just... If, like, for example, the Scarecrow is a 3/3, but he comes with a 2, but if he has persist, he'll come in with 2, and then the 1 for persist would make killing him.
But you can give Noxious Hatchling persist.
That is true. And
then he comes in with an extra counter on him. So he has 5, and he's a 1/1. So that works out for you.
Yeah, he'll come up with 5. The problem with though is like you have to remove all of them first because the persist counts any -1 counters.
Yeah,
not just the one that comes in for persist.
That is true. So if you have any -1/-1 counters on the creature, it's not coming back with persist.
Yeah. So persist actually, or like giving all your creatures persist, isn't that good. But having creatures just with persist.
Right.
So, speaking of it, like, getting a bunch of counters, that one thing you want to do is probably Proliferate.
Proliferate would work.
Like, I think there's, the main one, like, I know Proliferate is a blue thing. There are a few black ones, but, like, the best Proliferate cards are, like, Tezzert's Gambit, Drumming Bird, and Contagion Clasp.
And Contagion Engine.
Yeah, Contagion Engine's, like, 6 mana.
Yeah, it's super expensive.
And, like, yeah, you can Proliferate every turn, but, like, Contagion Clasp is, like, just really good for just getting out there, because it costs 2. It's an artifact. When it enters the battlefield, put a counter on something. So you can either kill an opponent's creature, or you can just put it on one of your creatures for your Quill thing to eat.
Right. It's a -1/-1 counter for 2, and then you can pay 4 and tap it and proliferate. So if you're getting low on counters and your hand's starting to get a little empty...
Yeah, you just give something. Or as many things as you want proliferate. Because if you have 3 things with 1, is like, congratulations, now you have 3 things with 2.
Right.
And if you're running things like Planeswalkers, you just give them extra loyalty counters.
Yeah.
Your opponent's running Planeswalkers, you could give them extra counters.
Yeah, sure, why not?
Why not? If you're playing multiplayer, just give it to the one guy who you really like, just to make everyone else mad. The only other proliferate you may want to consider is Tezzert's Gambit. Because even though it's blue Phyrexian mana.
Yeah.
So you can just pay 2 life instead of running blue. And that'll proliferate and draw you 2 cards for 3 and 2 life.
Which isn't bad.
It's really good, actually.
Yeah, because this deck does need a little bit of card draw in it.
Yeah.
Which brings me to the next topic. How, other than things coming in with -1/-1 counters, eventually those run out. So, you need a few things to help get counters on them. So, you can run things like Scarscale Ritual. Scarscale Ritual is 1 and a hybrid blue-black sorcery. As an additional cost to play Scarscale Ritual, put a -1/-1 counter on a creature you control. Draw 2 cards.
That is really good. I really like this card.
This card is amazing in this deck.
I'm liking this deck. Like, problem is this deck is turning part blue.
It doesn't need to.
I'm not running any blue mana sources, though, because I'm running this. I'm running Tezzeret's Gambit.
Yeah.
Both of those are blue, but this is a blue-black hybrid mana, and Tezzeret's Gambit is Phyrexian mana.
Yeah.
So the deck's technically blue, but it doesn't run any islands or blue mana.
Just because it doesn't need it. It just needs black and green. But it does some interesting blue things, like draw 2 cards. Mm-hmm. This is incredibly helpful because it lets you dig, and it just increases the power of your Quillspike.
Mm-hmm. And it draws 2 for 2, which is nuts.
Yeah.
The only problem is it's sorcery speed, but what you gotta do? It's a late game thing. You run like 2 in the deck.
I'd run 4.
Yeah, depending on what the other cards are. Like if I would have to make a tough choice to cut a card, I'd probably pick one of these earlier to like make room for another card.
Well, because this deck needs a lot of mana to function, or rather to function quickly.
Yeah.
Scarscale lets you just keep digging for land. Yeah, you can only play one, but missing a land drop in this deck is gonna hurt.
Oh yeah.
If you miss a land drop anytime before turn 4, you're gonna be hurting real bad.
Yeah, I can see it.
Because, at least in the deck that I've assembled, I don't have a whole lot of acceleration. Mm-hmm. I run a Golgari Rot Farm, which isn't technically acceleration, because it requires you to bounce a land.
Yeah, but it doesn't put you back one, because you can tap that land for mana.
Yeah, you can tap the land for mana, and then play Golgari Rot Farm, and Golgari Rot Farm comes into play tapped.
Yeah, but it puts you up ahead of mana next turn.
Yeah.
But the biggest draws of those is that now you have 3 land, but 4 mana.
Yeah.
So, like, even if you do miss a land drop, you're still on curve.
Yeah, you're still on curve. And that's just, you don't want to fall behind curve in this deck.
Yeah.
Everything in it is most of the things in it are relatively cheap, but you want to be able to play them. Another card that was really helpful is Grim Affliction. 3 mana, 2 generic and a black. For an instant, put a -1/-1 counter on target creature, then proliferate.
Oh, that's really good.
It's not quite Tezzeret's Gambit. It's not quite...
Well, it gets a neg-1 counter out there.
Yeah, it's almost a one-turn contagion clasp, really. Yeah. It puts a -1/-1 counter on something. It actually technically puts 2. Yeah. Because you can proliferate.
That is true, yeah.
So if
it at minimum gives you 2 neg-1 counters on the board.
Right. And that's really helpful. So, you're putting on a whole bunch of -1/-1 counters, and your Quillspike is happy and fat and swinging in for huge amounts of damage.
Going in for like a 6/6.
But kill spells still hurt you kind of bad.
Yeah.
I mean, your Quillspike's not going to die.
And also just smart blocks.
Yeah.
It's like, that's a 6/6, but it's a 2/2 right now. I'm going to block that with my 2/2. And you're tapped out, so...
Yeah, and smart blocks... Doomblade's not going to kill your Quillspike, but a murder will. So you've got to watch it.
Or go for the throat.
This is where late game Flourishing Defenses comes into play. It is 4 generic and a green for an enchantment. Whenever a -1/-1 counter is placed on a creature, you may put a 1/1 green elf warrior creature token onto the battlefield. I cannot describe how much fun this is with cards like Noxious Hatchling.
Actually, now that I think about it, a lot of your cards enter the battlefield with a neg-1 counter.
Multiple even.
Yeah, but they're not placed on them, so it wouldn't activate this ability.
It does, though.
Alright, the ability triggers both when a neg-1 counter is put on a creature on a battlefield and when a creature enters the battlefield with a neg-1 counter on it. This includes... when it's placed on a creature. Alright, scroll up seconds, read the Oracle text for this, whenever.
This is the...
Placed on a creature. Okay. That is. You're right. I was wrong.
That's so big of you.
That's actually really.
Yeah.
Well, I clearly I'm wrong. It's from a ruling from 2008.
Every -1/-1 counter. Mm-hmm. The turn after this, you drop a Noxious Hatchling. That's 4 elves.
Yeah.
You just start building an army.
And if you could somehow manage to put a neg-1 counter on all of those, of those elves, they come back with more. Or like all the elves dies, but you get more elves.
You could do some really stupid stuff with this and Black Sun Zenith.
That's exactly the card I was looking up. Does Black Sun put on counters, or does that just neg?
Black Sun Zenith puts X -1/-1 counters on each creature. It costs X and 2 black.
Yeah, I thought it was just like each creature gets neg 1, neg 1. Like,
so
that's really good because you put 2 on everything. That's twice as many creatures. You double your creatures.
It's not even that. If you have out a Flourishing Defenses, you've got 5 mana. That is 3 you can pay into Black Sun Zenith at minimum. That's 3 -1/-1 counters on everything. If you have any elves out, you get 3 elves for each elf you just killed.
Yep. You also get things for your opponent's creatures.
Yeah.
So if your opponent's running aggro and you really need to get out there, you lay this guy turn 5, it's turn 6, you miss your land drop this turn, you do that, they all get neg 3. Most likely they're all dead.
Yeah. And you just got 3 elves for each creature you just killed.
Yep.
It's amazing. It's a high mana cost, and you're not gonna get a whole lot of use out of Quillspike that turn.
Yeah.
And you're gonna kill your Quillspike, honestly, because
true.
Quillspike is a 1/1.
Yeah.
So I'm torn with Black Sun Zenith in this deck. I'm not sure if I want to run it, but with Flourishing Defenses, I think it might be worth it.
I would, because, well, even then, just Black Sun Zenith is 1, just really good, and 2, it puts counters on everything. So and that it slows your opponent down. It slows your opponent down and half slows you down.
Right.
And this game is
you will recover from.
Yeah, it's more late game, and you can recover.
Yeah.
Your opponent just kind of screwed and just has to kind of eventually sacrifice his field.
So
it is
the next card I want to talk about is Devoted Druid. This is a 2 mana 0/2 generic and a green for an elf druid, which you can tap and add 1 green mana to your mana pool. It's a slightly more expensive Llanowar elf, except Devoted Druid has a second ability. Put a -1/-1 counter on Devoted Druid. Untap Devoted Druid. You have just infinite combo.
Well, assuming you have Quillspike.
Clearly. This is the only acceleration I run in this deck, because it gives me access to 4 mana turn 3 if I don't miss a land drop.
Yeah, which is just enough to play Quillspike and then
start the combo.
Start Quillspike.
Now, Quillspike doesn't have haste.
Technically gives you 5 mana on turn 3.
I mean, it technically gives me infinite mana on turn 3 if I have a Quillspike, but let's not get technical
even if you
here.
don't have Quillspike.
You're right.
You technically can get.
You can get 2 by killing it.
Yeah.
No, you can get 3 by killing
you play,
it. Tap,
play
-1/-1, tap, -1/-1. No, then it dies.
Yeah. Because it's put the cost.
So
you can't tap it because you can't tap it because it dies before it actually untapped.
That's all I've got for Quillspike. Let's talk about.
I like them. I like this deck you've played out. I have to do a little bit more research, because I do know there's like some creatures that's like enters the battlefield with X neg 1 counters on it for whatever that you can just eat up.
Yeah, and this is a deck that I've teched it together. I've not yet play tested it.
That's true. You made this for $30. That was the point of
it. Wasn't even. It's less than 20 now. I've made some edits to it. It's less than $20. I'm gonna put it together and play test it. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
And a lot of your stuff is green-black hybrid.
Yeah.
So you really don't have to worry about your mana base. Technically.
Yeah, my mana base is super cheap.
Yeah, it's just forests and swamps.
Yeah, I run a couple of either tap lands or bounce lands.
Yeah, like the cheap ones.
It did come to mind just now that I've forgotten to talk about things that you don't want to run in a deck like this.
Oh yeah, you don't want to have your opponents run.
Or, well, you definitely don't want to have yourself run Malira. Malira stops all -1/-1 counters from happening.
Yup.
So you don't want to run Malira. That will just you will shut yourself down, and that would just be dumb. You also don't want to run things that bolster.
Just add +1/+1 counters in general.
Right. So Anafenza Kintree Spirit is an example of this. Whenever another non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, bolster 1. This is a card that's seeing a lot of standard. Well, it was seeing a lot of standard play. Now it's seeing a lot of modern play because of Kitchen Finks. Bolstering puts a +1/+1 counter on a creature with the least toughness. Now, the problem with this is +1/+1 counters and -1/-1 counters don't coexist. You think, oh yeah, they cancel each other out, but the counters are still there.
No, they're not.
No.
They vanish.
It's a very obscure rule that I only learned about recently. They actually are both, if you have an equal number of +1/+1 counters and -1/-1 counters, they are removed as a state-based action.
I actually learned this a long time ago because I started, or it was because of Undyne back in the first Innistrad block.
Right.
Like a friend of mine played Macaeus, and what had happened is someone had an Infect deck because Mirrodin was the set right before it.
Right.
Someone had an Infect deck, and they're like, all right, that thing has a neg1 counter on it. Or, like, it had a +1/+1 on it, and then, like, oh, well, I blocked your 1/1 Infect with this guy. He doesn't die. He has 1/+1, 1 neg1. And then it died while I had Macaeus on. I'm like, well, you don't get to keep it. I'm like, oh, I don't get to keep it because it technically has a neg1 counter on it. I was like, actually, no. Like, we had an argument, and I'm like, well, it still has it. I'm like, well, but they go away, don't they? Like, I don't know. Look it up. And we looked it up.
Yeah,
it was like a 20-minute argument because like
it's a really tricky rule. And I had no idea. It was a deck with Kitchen Finks and Anafenza Kintree Spirit, and a Sack Outlet was used against me, and I just immediately thought, no, that doesn't work. It still has the -1/-1 counter. I actually had to go through and look up the rules to figure it out. No,
they don't exist together.
Yeah, so that's all I have for Quillspike. Do you want to move on to your card?
I would love to. So my card is King Macar, the Gold Cursed. King Macar is a 2/3 legendary creature human for 4 mana. Costs 2 generic and 2 black mana. His ability is Inspired. Whenever King Macar, the Gold Cursed, becomes untapped, you may exile target creature. If you do, put a colorless artifact token named Gold onto the battlefield. It has sacrifice this artifact, add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. If you haven't figured it out already, this card is very, very, very clearly a reference to the Greek legend of King Midas.
Has the Midas touch.
He has the Midas touch.
And actually, the art really reflects the legend of King Midas.
Oh, very much so. Like this is what Theros was just full of, which is what he was printed. He was printed in Journey into Nyx in Theros,
right?
And it's like all of like Theros was Greek and Roman, and I really love it. And that's one of the reasons why I love him so much.
So I think Greg Staples, the artist, did a fantastic job. It shows this man who he's bedraggled, his hair and his beard have grown wild. He looks completely despondent, and he is surrounded by heaps and heaps of gold.
But not just like gold coins, but just like gold stuff. Like even his clothes that he is currently wearing, are turned to gold. Like I love, like he has a cat next to him.
Is that a cat?
It's like a cat.
Oh, it's a panther. Yeah, I thought it was a dog.
Yeah, it's some form of cat. But
he's got his pet panther next to him, and his arm is draped over it.
Yeah, he's got like cups full of gold liquid because he can't drink.
There's a woman who's in the background who, at first glance, you think she's just an attendant, but when you look,
statue.
She's definitely been turned to gold.
Yup, it's probably his daughter. Because in the Legend of King Midas, he accidentally turned his daughter into gold.
Okay, so it is definitely feasible that King Macar had a daughter.
Yeah. In case people don't know, the story of King Midas was a Greek legend that, after a series of events that are completely irrelevant, one of the gods was in favor, or King Macar was in favor with one of the gods and said, "Hey, because you helped me out, I will grant you 1 wish." And King Midas was like, "Okay, I wish that everything I touch turned to gold." Because, awesome, King Midas was apparently really greedy. So, like, sure, and boom, now everything King Midas touched turned to gold. So King Midas went home and was like, yeah, touching stuff, it's like all gold. It's like, yeah, I'm rich. And he's like, all right, servants, make me the greatest feast ever. And they did. And he, like, turned a bunch to gold, and he's like, yeah, I'm hungry. And he went to eat, and it got turned to gold.
Yep.
Oh, and he tried to take a drink, and like the second it touched his lips, it all turned to gold. It's like, crap.
If I remember correctly, didn't he actually starve to death? Isn't that what killed him?
No, he didn't actually starve to death. What happened? There's a lot of variations on this myth,
right?
So a lot of people don't know. But like one of the popular ones is that he accidentally turned his daughter into gold. He did a lot of things. And he prayed to a god whose name I can't remember. So one of the gods said, like, all right, this is what you got to do. If you go down to the river of Pactolus, I believe it was called. The river of Pactolus, and just kind of like bathe in it, it'll wash the curse off. And so he did, and he went down there, and he got into the river. Oh, also, if you like bathe anything that you got turned into gold, it'll unturn it to gold. So he saved his daughter, which is nice.
Okay.
He went down, he bathed in it, and when he did, like the curse kind of like fell off, but like it went into the water.
Right, he turned the water to gold.
Not the water, maybe like the water that he was directly touching, like water droplets, and a lot of it was just the sand in the water.
Right.
He just turned a whole bunch of that into gold, and that was their explanation for why that river was just really gold abundant.
Okay, yeah.
So just like one of those, just like, well, why is this? Why does this happen? It's like, oh, because of this story. Because like a lot of Greek and Roman myths are.
Yeah, they explained away a lot of things by
just stories and gods and kings and princesses and etc. etc. Which is why I love this card, because that's exactly what King Macar is.
Yeah.
King Macar just is King Midas. He turns things into gold, or turns people into gold, really.
Yeah, and in this instance, yes, he's turning. In his card, he's turning creatures to gold. His untapping, I guess, is him rising up and touching them.
Yeah, I don't particularly understand it.
Yeah,
I don't understand why it's when he untaps. I guess it's mostly because Inspired was a Theros thing.
Yeah,
it's like, oh, I have an idea as he gets up to go in for round 2. So it works a lot with like heroes, like, oh, he gets +2/+2, or etc., or he gets hexproof or something. I don't know.
I think King Macar would have been better suited if he dealt combat damage to a creature, or if he dealt damage to a creature at all.
I mean, flavor-wise, but he would suck.
There's a lot of ways you can have a creature deal damage to other creatures.
Yeah, but it would be hard. Like, I like King Macar. He's not very good.
No,
he's not very good already, and you just have to be able to tap him down for any reason.
You've got to specifically be able to untap him.
Yeah.
Having him untap during your untap step is just not enough.
Yeah.
You need other ways to do it. But even then,
just like every turn, being able to just untap him and exile something, and that's a kicker. It exiles.
Yeah.
So like, aha, Ulamog, ultimate god of destruction. Just like, boop, it's gold now. I can turn it into mana. That's also a thing. You get the gold. King Macar is greedy, so like he turns the thing into gold, and he brings it back with him. He's not just gonna leave it there.
I've turned this ultimate destructive force into gold.
Yep.
I'm gonna drag it back to my house.
It's just like I'd assume like that I'd like Ulamog and like, touch gold. I guess I'll just rip off a piece of its tentacle. Which makes sense, because gold is really malleable, so you can just, like, rip pieces off and, like, alright, I guess this is mine now.
You should get gold equal to its mana cost.
That would be nuts. Or, like, equal to its toughness.
That's better, yeah,
because, like, it's enough in his body. That would actually make this card way better and more interesting, but a little bit abusable.
I think it would be interesting if you got gold equal to its mana cost, because then you can exile things that you played early game and basically just get their mana back.
Essentially, yeah. And like, well, you sell them, you buy them back.
Yeah,
because you're selling the gold, or at least that's what I think we do when you sacrifice the gold token.
I have no idea how that works. Typically, I would imagine, if you're sacrificing a creature with like Ashnod's Altar, you're basically just ripping its energy from it and getting mana from it that way. How do you do that with gold? Are you pulling the life essence out of the statue that's already dead?
I think you're just selling it for like money or resources. Like, I guess that's kind of what mana is. It's just resources. Because gold is just kind of value.
Mana is a resource in the game, but flavor-wise, it is energy. It's a life source.
Well, if you turn something into gold, it's dead. So I guess you're just like, you're trapping its life into the statue or token or whatever. You turn it into a gold version of itself.
So he does and he does not live up to... His ability does and does not live up to the flavor.
Oh, he totally lives up to the flavor. It's just
the ability
mechanically wise. You can't really mechanize a vague curse.
I would be fine with it just exiling a creature.
Yeah. Well,
I like the gold, though.
Yeah, I love King Macar. Oh, also, fun fact, since he's gold, at least in, as I mentioned earlier, Theros is based on Greek and Roman gods mythology. And one of those is Erebos, the god of the dead.
Yes.
Is based a lot on Hades.
Yeah.
And Erebus, the goddess, I believe, of darkness. But one thing about Hades specifically, not really Hades, but Pluto, which is the Roman version of Hades, he's actually also the god of not just the underworld, but like riches from the world, from like the earth.
Right.
So like gemstones, crystals, and gold specifically. And also, since a lot of the god of the underworld being Hades, Pluto, Erebos, is generally worshipped by those who exalt death, those who desire wealth, and those who pray for those who desire wealth and want acceptance for their faith. And because the dead leave their earthly wealth behind, they have all become associated with that wealth. That's why there's just a bunch of gold in the underworld.
Which is interesting because in Theros anyway, the gold is almost completely worthless. Their coins and their currency in the underworld is clay.
Yeah, because
and the gold is used specifically to forge the masks of the returned.
Exactly. Like almost all of them have masks. But there's just so much gold that they don't care.
But that even extends to Athreos, the god of passage. You don't pay him in gold. You pay him in clay coins.
I did not know that. I know you pay opponents pay him in life in the actual card game.
Yes.
But that is interesting. I did not know that. But there's so much flavor, and that's really all I'm talking about in this little thing, because it's really all his mechanic makes sense enough. It's a little wordy, but it's not particularly complicated. He just exiles, and you get an artifact token.
But there are a lot of abilities that work really well with him.
Oh yeah, you can abuse him. I actually made an EDH deck out of him with him as the commander. Me and a lot of my friends, we play budget EDH, which is just we play EDH or Commander, whichever you refer to. I mix the terms around a lot.
Yeah, it's flip-flopped for me.
Me and my friends play a lot of Budget Commander, which you make a Commander deck for less than $50. Other than basic lands, because if you build it on tapped out, it'll count your basic lands, which are 12 cents.
Yeah,
so
that's
if you
weird.
had 40 of those, it's $12. So just ignore basic lands.
Because basic lands are essentially free.
Yeah. And this deck it's all black because King Macar's the commander, so you can run a whole bunch of things.
But all you really need is swamps.
Yeah, land wise, all I need is swamps. Okay, some other ones if you want to go really expensive, you go Cabal Coffers,
Nykthos, Shrine of Nyx.
That card right there. Yeah, I think the card's $4, so I may not have it in the deck. Anyway, there are so many cards that you would think the hard part is untapping King Macar, which actually is kind of the hard part to do. But there's a lot of ways. The easiest way to tap King Macar is obviously a swing with him, but he's a 2/3.
Right.
And if you're playing multiplayer, there's always at least one guy who doesn't have any creatures. It's I'm gonna swing at you. Don't be mad, or block with your 1/1. I have another guy who plays Shadowborn Apostles. So he's 15 Shadowborn Apostles. It's I'm gonna swing at you. Will you just block with 1? And he's yeah, I'll block with 1. Or just usually what happens, and I think about it, is I'm going to swing at you so I can keep him tapped. Will you block with 1? And he'd be I have my commander out, so if you don't pay the life so I can get my Shadowborn Apostle back, I don't care. And he's okay. He blocks 1, it dies, and he gets it back. And then I get to untap King Macar in my turn and exile something. So it's nice and fair. But there are a lot of cards you can use to tap it. There's a lot of blue cards that you can run that can tap it, but I mostly focused on artifacts.
Well, because you're playing EDH,
yeah,
you have to run black.
I have only black and only not.
If you're just running regular Magic, you can, and you want to run blue-black, which
is not
that's a fantastic combination.
Yeah,
it's a great combination.
It's really good.
You can run Hidden Strings. Hidden Strings is a 2-mana sorcery. You may tap or untap target permanent. Then you may tap or untap another target permanent. So,
or tap King Macar and untap something else.
Right. Hidden Strings also has Cipher. If you're unfamiliar with Cipher, Cipher was a mechanic in Return to Ravnica block. Basically, what it does is you exile this card encoded on a creature you control. And whenever that creature deals combat damage to a player, its controller may cast a copy of the encoded card without paying its mana cost.
Yeah.
You can encode hidden strings onto King Macar. Swing in with King Macar. If you're playing blue, you can give him some sort of evasion so he can't be blocked.
Yeah, like Whisper Silk Cloak or something.
Yeah, and then just untap him as soon as he deals combat damage, and boom, exiled something.
Yep.
Turned it to gold.
And you can tap something else with your opponent.
Yeah, and you can tap something else.
So like,
or untap your land.
Yeah.
I love hidden strings
so you
because...
you get 2 mana out of that. The one for the gold and the one from the other just untap a land.
Yep.
Is it a land or...
A permanent.
You're right. You can. Unfortunately, I can't run blue in my EDH deck, so
right.
I ran a bunch of artifacts. The more expensive version of the deck, when I was playing around, would run things like Mycosynth Lattice, and it just turned into a artifact deck. Because what it did was, like, it would play me King Macar, somehow make him an artifact, and be like, oh, whenever an artifact enters the battlefield, tap or untap a thing. You gotta tap him, untap him somehow, put in a gold.
Or just wait one turn.
Yeah, but you could do this repeatedly, is what I'm saying.
Right.
You get in a gold, its ability would activate. In response, do something like Springleaf Drum.
Right.
Tap him down, get a mana, untap him with that ability because he's an artifact now. Like it was way more expensive, monetary wise, so I couldn't do it in the budget deck. But it was actually kind of nuts when I.
It's still a combo that just wipes the board.
Yeah, it just exiles everything. That's the beauty of it. It exiles because it's indestructible. Like I don't care. But yeah, like
the only thing it doesn't get around is Shroud.
Yeah, essentially.
Well, hexproof, Shroud, whatever.
Shroud. Yeah,
just hexproof and Shroud.
So much stuff. Even then, there's a land whose name I can't remember, but it just straight up says tap all creatures with hexproof or Shroud can be targeted until end of turn.
There's a few things that do that.
Yeah, but some of my favorite artifacts that I run in the deck. Because there's really no black spells that tap things or untap them. There's Honor-Worn Shaku, which is an old card from the Kamigawa block.
Yeah.
That's just tap, add a colorless to your mana pool. And a second ability is tap an untapped legendary permanent you control, untap Honor-Worn Shaku. So it's a free way to tap King Macar and get a free mana.
Yeah.
Like, it's really good.
That's actually really nice because you can throw it down for 3 mana,
mm-hmm.
then tap it immediately because it's an artifact because it doesn't have summoning sickness.
Yep.
Tap down your King Macar, untap it, tap it again for another mana. So you basically
it pays for 2 of itself.
Right.
And if you manage to untap it somehow, then you can get a gold and it pays for itself.
Yeah.
Well, it does pay for itself and get you a gold. But there's other cards like Springleaf Drum, that is an artifact that costs 1 mana. If you tap it and tap an untapped creature you control, add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. Also good for just tapping down King Macar.
Well, it's really nice. Springleaf Drum is really nice because you can tap a creature the turn it comes into play that doesn't have haste.
You're right.
So you have out a Springleaf Drum, you play King Macar, boom, he's tapped right away.
Yeah, he's really good. One of my favorites is a really, really old card named Ebony Horse, which is strange that it's an artifact. But what the card is it's a 3-mana artifact that says pay 2 and tap. Untap target attacking creature you control. Prevent all combat damage that would be dealt to and dealt by that creature this turn.
That's interesting that the Oracle text doesn't just say remove it from combat. No, it's actually better than removing it from combat.
Yeah, because it's
because they can't lightning bolt it afterwards.
Yep, because this turn they do it in response.
Yeah,
that's cool. But yeah, Ebony Horse. Yeah, and also the creature's still technically blocked, so you can
it's blocked.
So you can do stuff that like the target blocked creature gets whatever.
Right.
I mean, it doesn't really matter, but still. But you're just like, all right, I swing King Macar, and they're like, okay, I block with my 9/9. I'm like, well, fun fact,
Ebony Horse.
I untap it with his horse, I guess. He doesn't take any damage, and I exile that other thing you have. Most likely, you're gonna exile the 9/9.
The thing that you didn't block.
Yeah. But anyway, that's that one's probably one of my favorites, just because of how old and ridiculous it is.
So there's a fun artifact that goes really well with this one called Jandor's Saddlebags.
Yeah, that one it pays 4.
You pay 3 and you tap it, and you untap target creature. It's a very simple thing, but I think it goes really well with the Ebony Horse.
Because it's a saddlebag, yeah.
But they would both untap the thing. They don't work together on the same creature.
You need another thing to tap it, so you untap it with tap it when you swing, untap it with the horse, tap it with Shaku, and then untap it with the saddlebag again.
And then you just do weird things.
Yeah, just exile 4 things.
So yeah, the saddlebags and the horse don't play the best together, but they just give you some extra utility.
The biggest problem with the horse is the fact that you have to use it when it's attacking.
Right.
So you can't tap, untap, and then go and attack as the final way to tap them down.
Right.
So you need another way to untap them, so that way on the beginning of your upkeep you'll get it again.
Right.
But there's a bunch of things where you can. One of the ones I like is 1,000-Year Elixir.
Yeah, 1,000-Year Elixir is really good at tapping.
Yeah, that one's just
untapping.
I think that's one of the more expensive cards in the deck that I had.
Well, it's because it's just damn useful.
Yeah, just activated abilities you control, or you may activate abilities of creatures you control as though those creatures had haste.
So any ability that requires it to tap.
Yeah, and it costs 3 mana, so it's just bring in stuff, tap.
But
technically, to have that, you can bring in an infinite number of Llanowar Elves.
Yeah.
Just.
Yeah. It lets you. It's the cheapest way to untap.
Actually,
anything.
No, you can't because those are mana abilities, not activated abilities.
Yes, they're activated abilities.
They are activated.
It's an activated ability that produces mana, so
yeah.
It's a activated ability that does not use a stack.
Yeah.
But it's the cheapest untapped card.
Definitely. Pay 1 tap, untap target creature. That's nuts.
And then there's Umbra Mantle.
Yeah, the most abusable one.
So Umbra Mantle is a 3 mana artifact. It is an equipment that equips for 0. Equipped creature has pay 3, untap. This creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn.
You heard that right. Pay 3 and untap. Way back in Shadowmoor Eventide, they introduced a new symbol, which was the untap symbol.
Which is an inverted tap symbol.
Yeah. And they promptly never touched that again.
I want them to again.
No, I don't. It is so abusable. It's
abusable, but it's fun.
Yeah, but there are 15 infinite combos that I can just think of off the top of my head. Pilipala is one of the worst contenders because he just constantly kills himself. If you give him persist somehow and just constantly kill him, bring him back, tap him, do a thing, untap him immediately because of things. It is just nuts. It is ridiculous.
But it makes for so much fun.
It does a little bit. They're a little too abusable and it's hard to keep.
Umbra Mantle, it costs 3.
Yeah.
You have to have 3 mana.
Yeah. But actually it kind of works in King Macar because when King Macar untaps and his ability goes off, he gives you a mana.
Essentially, yeah, he does cash back on one of that.
Yeah, and I activate things I use things like Heartstone, which is give all my creatures with activated abilities cost 1 less. So it'll make
yeah, that'll make it cost 2.
2 when on tap, so I can do it a little bit more often. But if I also have Shaku, I can tap him for mana, tap it for mana, untap or tap him to untap it, tap it again.
And there's 2 mana.
Use those 2 mana to untap him with Umbral Mantle.
Yeah.
Killing a thing, getting a mana via.
Of course, you have to have the card that reduces the mana cost.
Yeah, you need Heartstone, yeah.
But if you have a land...
Yeah, there are ways you can get abusable, and since it's an EDH deck, you're not going to get it reliably. You're just going to irritate them.
I think this card is solid without being too abusable. It's not a Quillspike devoted druid combo.
It's no Pilipala. But it is used. I think it's also one of the more expensive cards in the deck, money-wise.
Yeah.
A lot of the deck I run also just runs solid black stuff. Exsanguinate, which just does everything. It's -X, where X is the number of swamps you control.
Yeah.
All of my lands are swamps, so everything's getting -10, -10.
Right.
I'm just you guys keep swinging me with stuff, and I can't kill it fast enough. Everything's dead. Sure, King Macar costs 2 more to cast now, but...
I've got 12 gold.
Yeah, I got 12 gold. I don't give a shit.
Yeah, because if you're just stockpiling gold, you just have this nice little stockpile of gold. You don't care if King Macar dies.
Yeah.
I just realized how good that is.
Mm-hmm.
If King Macar dies, it doesn't matter. You're just like, well, here's 6 gold.
Here's the gold I made. I mean, if they do it fast enough, they kill you before you can get gold.
Well, yeah, but it's EDH. People don't kill things quickly.
That is true. The only cards that are better than cards that untap are cards that both tap and untap. And there are actually quite a few. I actually don't run many because some of them are really expensive. I run Pacac Strings because that one's probably the cheapest of them all.
Right. It's nice. 2 mana, tap it. Tap or untap. Whatever.
Yeah, tap or untap something.
Very flexible.
Ironically, the card you mentioned earlier, the blue one, is Hidden Strings.
Yeah.
It's Puppet Strings. So
the irony is not lost on
okay.
me. Hidden Strings can untap your puppet strings, which then untaps a creature.
I can. That's so cool. There's a Sword of the Praise. I think I have that one. Yeah.
Perunes?
Yeah, it actually works really well with King Macar.
As long as equipped... Okay, Sword of the Perunes is a 4-mana artifact. As long... it's a 4-mana equipment. As long as equipped creature is tapped, tapped creatures you control get +2/+0. As long as equipped creature is untapped, untapped creatures you control get +2/+0.
Yep.
Pay 3, you may tap or untap equipped creature. Holy crap, that's really good with King Macar.
Yep. Yeah, it's like it just works really well because you essentially turn him into a 2/5 if you have like something if you have the mana to untap him.
Right.
So like I swing with the thing. Right now he is a 4/3. So if they're like, I block with my 2/2, you kill it. Or if they're like, I block with my 2/4, you kill it. And they're like, all right, well I block with my 6/6. Like, all right, well I untap it and kill it. Or like, I block with my 4/4.
Yeah.
Okay, I untap them to turn him into a 2/5. And like, so no one dies. Well, your thing dies because
and then you can just
exile
something else.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's really useful.
Yeah, it is. Really...
That's a combat trick that just... Your opponent really has to play hard around that.
Yeah, it's just like, it's really annoying.
Yeah, they can see it coming.
Another one I have is it's a ring. I can't remember what it's called, but at the beginning of your upkeep, put a +1/+1 counter on equipped creature if it's black.
Yeah.
So it just keeps getting bigger. Fun fact, the deck I made actually doesn't have a win con. Like, the whole point of the deck is just to tap and untap stuff and just constantly exile my opponent's stuff.
Well, your win condition, I think, at that point would technically be commander damage.
Yeah, like, that you just eventually all your stuff is dead and King Macar is just going to swing, I guess.
Because, yeah, they can't block, so you can just uncontested swing in with King Macar.
Unless they're like, I put in a crap load of tokens. You're like, well, I lose. But other than that, there's also Staff of Dominion. Like, Staff of Dominion is one I'm not running. Oh, wait, sorry. It's Staff of Domination.
Staff of Domination.
And I'm not running it because it's really expensive. It's like a $10 card.
It's nice, though.
Oh, it's
weird.
Really good.
It's weird, but it's nice.
It's incredible. It's just full of utility. It's just like, it's pay 1, untap Staff of Domination. Pay 2, tap it, you gain a life. Not particularly good. Pay 3, tap, untap target creature. That's the important one. Pay 4, tap target creature.
Those should be reversed.
Good. You would think.
You would really think that untapping a creature would be more valuable than tapping a creature.
I guess it depends on if you're going defensive or offensive.
Yeah.
Because, like, I tap your creature and then swing it. Because tapping a creature down is actually really powerful.
It's also incredibly cheap.
Yeah, usually. Well, this is also, like, reusable.
Yeah.
Like, just being able to just tap thing, pay a mana, untap it, and then tap another thing.
Yeah.
Is really good. So
with King Macar, you can pay 3 mana and tap Staff of Domination to untap him.
Yep.
Exile something, get a gold, use that gold, sacrifice that gold to untap the staff.
Yep. But you have to spend more mana to...
Yeah, well, yeah, you have to spend more mana to do this stuff, but...
Or you'd use one of the 30 other artifacts that I mentioned, tap stuff down.
Yeah.
This deck is actually surprisingly, like...
It seems pretty consistent.
It's a smart deck. Like, you have to think about what you're going to do, and you have to think about a lot of, like, when you're going to attack, when you're going to activate abilities before you attack. Particularly, like, if you have Ebony Horse on the field.
Right.
Because once you get Ebony Horse onto the battlefield, you're like, alright, the only way to use Ebony Horse is if I swing. And I have to use it for the swing.
Right.
and then like tap stuff down.
And then you can get creative with the rest of the stuff.
Yeah, the rest of the deck is just general like black stuff, and like since I'm constantly tapping things down, I'm running things like Royal Assassin.
Right.
Because he just taps destroy target creature or destroy target tapped creature. I
see you've got Voltaic Key in the list here, so it helps untap everything.
Just
all your artifacts.
One of the 100 artifacts, or like since you're playing multiplayer, like someone like I have an artifact down, is like, hey, I'll untap your artifact for you if you don't kill my King Macar. And we're like, sweet, yeah. And then they just kill my Macar somehow anyway. But
this deck is interestingly heavy in artifacts, which I think is flavorful because artifacts are
gold. Gold are artifacts, yeah.
Yeah.
Like I like to pretend that all the artifacts in this deck are gold plated.
They could be.
Yeah, like King Macar just touches it and it's gold now.
It's one of the few things he could actually like interact with.
Yeah.
So if you're running very few creatures and you're using artifacts, well, King Macar could utilize these artifacts.
Yep. They're just also gold now. Yeah, it's really fun. Like Voltaic Key is in there for that. I run other just black things. Royal Assassin, Murderous Compulsion, which destroy target tapped creature because everything's getting tapped. Why not?
All of your stuff's getting tapped more than everything else.
Well, I can tap other people's stuff. Like there are just things.
Yeah, that's true.
Tap target creature, like an idiot.
Right.
And there are a lot of times where I have plenty of ways to tap things, but not anything to untap, so I just have things to tap. So I'm like, I'm going to tap that creature and kill it, because screw you.
I think you could build a pretty solid... Even you've built an EDH deck. I think you could build a solid, constructed 60-card deck out of this.
Oh, yeah, you could. But they actually tried doing it in... a lot of people tried doing this in Standard. When King Macar was Standard, it just didn't work.
In Standard, no. Yeah. There's not enough abusability in Standard.
Yeah, like the closest one was Hidden Strings. But when you at the same time for a while there,
when you start getting into just like casual fun decks, this is a pretty solid.
Oh yeah, like you just run like a play set of like any of the cards you mentioned, particularly 1,000-Year Elixir.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like him as a commander. I think it works really well as a fun deck. Fun fact: if you play it, you're gonna get a lot of people mad at you. Other people are playing creature-based decks.
Yeah.
But you know who you just lose to? Anyone not playing a creature-based deck.
Yeah, because you have nothing you can do against them.
But it's like, the worst thing to do is, like, the worst part of this deck is, like, you don't want to kill someone's commander. Because then they just don't get to play, and it's just not fun.
I mean, you could, because if you exile their commander, they can just put it back in the command zone.
That is true, but it costs more every time. It's also they just don't get to have fun. Like, this is a mentality I've gained from playing commander, like, just a casual commander. It's like, I'll kill your stuff, but, like... I won't kill your stuff and make sure you can't play.
I will. I don't have a problem killing off people's commanders if I know that it's not going to make it so they can't play the game at all.
Yeah. Well,
if they're going to start playing like some ridiculous infinite combo, you bet your ass I'm going to kill their commander every time.
Like one of the guys who plays Krenko and he plays goblins, and if like, all right, I have like 5 goblins and I play Krenko, it's like, no, I kill Krenko. It's like, but he's my commander. I'm like, you played Krenko and you have like 5 goblins. I can't let you have a Krenko. And he's like, yeah, you got a point. Nonetheless, though, I really enjoy this as a commander deck.
Oh, yeah. I think it's a fun deck. So I think that
wraps it up for me.
All right.
So, thank you for listening to Pick a Card, Any Card. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or card suggestions, you can email us at
pacac.cast@gmail.com.
Or if you're listening to this on YouTube, you can leave them in the comments below.
Pacac.
You messed up. Screw you.
Finally. That's going to get a blooper.
Yeah. You fucked up.